Hey, what's up, everyone? Austin here. Um, and last week I got asked about how you could utilize intermittent fasting or fasting in general to gain muscle. And so in this video, I want to go over that um, and my thoughts around that and how you go about trying to gain muscle within fasting protocol, okay, and how to think about it if that's what you're trying to do, okay. First off, my background, right? I've done fasted AM uh, aerobic training for, I think I did that for like a 5-year plus stint when I was competing in functional fitness, especially CrossFit. Um, I trained twice a day, and that AM session was always kind of my fasted, right out of bed, aerobic piece, super easy. So I've utilized that for performance based and also body comp, because there was phases in my athletic training where I did have to either bulk up or lose weight, and I did utilize intermittent fasting within that as needed. And along with that, I did numerous detox too for performance benefits. And then recently, I've gotten into intermittent fasting a little bit more for the longevity pieces and body comp pieces. Since I stopped competing about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I've kind of been diving deeper into that. With that, I've completed the intermittent fasting and intermittent energy restrictive course through Precision Nutrition. I've also completed a 7-day fast. I've done multiple 1, 2, and 3-day fasts too, with different protocols that I've just been playing around with that I've found through reading different articles and books, podcasts, because it's something I'm heavily interested in for the longevity purposes of intermittent fasting, and based on the benefits you get from it, okay? But first, I think it's important we first talk about fasting in general and the continuum of fasting, right? There are so many different types of fasting protocols out there. It's astounding, right? Like probably an infinite amount, honestly, because it's so individualized and personalized based on a number of factors, okay? But let's talk about that continuum. And on the first part of that continuum, I would say the very basics of fasting is just waiting till you're truly physically hungry to eat. And then when you are hungry, only eating till you're about 80% full, and you're eating slowly doing that, right? That would be the start of the continuum, honestly. I think a lot of people are not in tune with their hunger cues, right? I think a lot of people think that hunger is linear, right? People are like, oh, I'm getting hungry, so I have to eat now, thinking that in an hour or two that they're going to be even more hungry. That's not how it works. Hunger actually ebbs and flows throughout the day based on a number of different factors. So just because you're hungry now does not mean you're going to be hungry in an hour or two, okay? So that would be like the first part of the continuum. The second kind of step in that continuum would be just skipping a meal sometimes, right? Sometimes, maybe you just skip breakfast one day. Maybe one day you're skipping dinner, right? Just getting rid of a meal automatically kind of eliminates a chunk of those calories that you're consuming in a day. Third one on the continuum is intermittent energy restriction. So that means just loosely structured days of less energy. Maybe 3 of the 4 days of 1 week, you're only hitting 25 to 50% your maintenance calories, and the other days you are at your maintenance calories. And that's just one version. You could see how you could get so complex or not with that, okay? Now, the fourth one is what we call eat, stop, eat. It's a 36-hour fast followed by a 12-hour refeed, and you do that 1 to 2 times a week. Oh, excuse me. It's a 24-hour eat, stop, eat. Is it just a 24-hour fast 1 to 2 times a week? Okay, just to get in those hunger cues. The fifth one is fast mimicking diet, which means several days you'll be at less energy. Okay, so 25 to 50% of that maintenance calories, and those other days you're at your normal eating. Okay, so similar to your intermittent energy restricted, but this one's kind of, you're trying to mimic a fast. Okay. Sixth one is alternate day feeding. So this one's a 36-hour regular fast followed by a 12-hour refeed window or feed window. That's the sixth one. And the seventh one is time restricted feeding. That's daily fasting with specific feeding windows. I'm sure you guys have all heard of like a 12-hour fast, a 15-hour fast, two popular ones are called the Warrior Diet, which is a 20-hour fast with a 4-hour feeding window. And the other one is called a Lean Gains, which is a 16-hour fast and 8-hour feeding window, right? And obviously there's a lot more, but those are probably the most popular. And I think it's important to note within that continuum, fasting itself does not make up for poor food choices or overeating after a feeding window. Overeating after a feeding window is a very common thing people do, and it's actually a little scary that people do it, right? During a fast, a lot of your organ cells are shrinking and dying off, called autophagy. So you're killing off these older cells that are just kind of hanging out, maybe not producing or helping you compared to the younger cells that are actually doing the work. So autophagy kills off those older cells so new ones could grow, new active ones can grow. And so if we're killing off everything, we're not going to be growing much if we're fasting, especially the longer fast. So then if we go to refeed, or that first meal back, if we're just pigging out on poor food choices or just overeating, that's going to stimulate growth, but it could cause unhealthy growth, right? So just as you could gain muscle, or growing other cells within the body after a fast, the food that you're putting in your body to help you grow is going to really determine on what cells are going to be growing, okay? So keep that in mind. The more active and less flexible you are with your schedule, the harder it's going to be to make fasting a lifestyle. So if you're thinking about that continuum, that last one being time restricted feeding, where you're fasting for 20 hours, feeding for 4 hours, a lot of that, weights, and you can just put them down. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Home gym coming in. Anyway, where was I? Your lifestyle has a lot to do with how you can incorporate these different fasting protocols into your lifestyle. All right. Not everyone could do it. Say if you're working a very structured 9 to 5, it might be a little harder. Like, hey, I gotta take these 4 hours to basically eat for a while. That just might not. Your boss might not want that, right? Someone who's an entrepreneur or someone who sets their own hours each day, fasting and going deeper down that fasting, dialing that in more, is a lot more plausible. Okay. Fasting too may improve your health, but it might not make you extremely healthy. Okay, if you're already super lean and fit, fasting and even the more technical protocols might not help you that much more, right? Fasting is excellent for those who are overweight, obese, don't know much about their hunger cues, or just are overeating constantly, okay? These fasting protocols can go, and really help with those kind of situations. When deciding to pick which protocol you want to follow, you need to ask yourself, what are your needs and wants? What's your unique physical makeup? And how's your mindset around food? And also, like I just mentioned, will your lifestyle support this, right? Those are 4 important questions before you start any fasting protocol. But in this video, like I said, I want to talk about gaining muscle with a fasting protocol. And first off, if we're running to gain muscle, we're going to want to be in a caloric surplus, right? To create growth, we're going to need more. It's almost like fertilizer. We're going to need more of that fuel to help simulate growth, okay? So where are your current calories at? Do you know where your maintenance calories are right now based on your activity level, age, height, sex, all of that, right? So the first step is, are you even eating enough to begin with? Okay, because if we're not eating enough already without restricting that feeding window, it's going to be harder as we close that feeding window to continue to eat that. And that leads me into my second point is, how's your current gut health? Okay, that's one that's commonly overlooked, especially with fasting protocols. If your gut, like some people just have a hard time eating a lot of food because it's a lot on your gut. If you're eating a lot, it's a lot of work that your body has to physically work to break down that food. And sometimes people struggle with that. So sometimes, people have a hard time even meeting their maintenance amount of calories. and because the gut has to work more because they're used to being starved. So you have to slowly work up towards your maintenance calories and then into the surplus while your gut's healthy, right? And that's even harder because if we're trying to gain weight or trying to eat a lot, food quality might have to come down a little bit. And that's one of the trade-offs with trying to gain muscle and lean mass, is the quality of food might have to come down for this period of time to reach that goal, right? Everything has trade-offs, and this is no different. Okay. And fasting, right, when we think about fasting, what it does to the body, it decreases some major things that we need actually for muscle loss. One of those is circulating glucose. Another one is insulin, IGF-1 growth factors, BMR, protein synthesis. Your resting heart rate also decreases. Hormone synthesis generally decreases I know that's a very broad topic, but generally a lot of things decrease, like I was saying, because you're in kind of a starvation state. Growth and repair actually slow down and decrease too, so recovery is going to drop. And GI motility, basically how that your gut is working and how it's moving things across the barriers, is going to decrease. Okay, along with digestive enzymes. Again, we need those if we're trying to gain weight. And inflammation, right? Inflammation might decrease if you're fasting because you're putting less into your body. But like I said, those things are all decreasing, and we might need them to gain muscle, right? Even when we're gaining muscle, we're going to need some inflammation, honestly. So inflammation could be good in a sense that we need it because that's showing our body is working to repair itself, right? Through a supercompensation theory method, basically, right? We're overstressing a little bit, which causes inflammation, in hopes to regrowth and replace that inflammation roughly with muscle. Okay. So think about those things. And if we want to go in and still do fasting, we've got to think about the hormesis effect, which is basically finding the perfect balance without overdoing or overstressing the system. So I suggest, if you're like, I still want to do fasting and try and gain muscle, work up that continuum with maybe, just waiting till you're hungry and eating till you're 80% full. But again, if you're not eating to 80% full, maybe you're not reaching those total calories. So again, that might be like, oh, wow, I can't do that and still gain muscle because I need to be in a surplus. And you can see how that's contradictory. But it's not to say it can't be done, because people do it, right? It just depends how far into this and how hard you want to go into it. Okay. But that would be my suggestion on things to think about if you're trying to gain muscle with a fasting protocol. Okay, so in conclusion, basically, if you're already lean and want to gain muscle, intermittent fasting and various intermittent energy restricted protocols may not be the best for you if you're already lean and have a good amount of strength or strong enough, right? If you have excess weight to lose, I suggest focusing on losing the weight with those various intermittent fasting protocols I was describing, along with cleaning up your food quality. Because if we're starting to lose weight, maybe that muscle's showing through, right? Maybe gaining muscle isn't technically the goal you wanted. It was more of like, it was maybe more of a body composition goal that you didn't realize, right? So that's something you really got to ask yourself, because that was like one of the first things I told you, like the 4 questions to ask yourself was, what are your needs and wants, right? Do you really need to gain muscle, or do you really want to look good naked, right? There's differences there, and you got to be honest with yourself with what you're wanting to get out of this, okay? Also, if this is like kind of overwhelming, you don't know where to start, because I know there's a lot, and if you look it up, there's even more. I try to keep this video pretty simple. I have an intermittent fasting and an intermittent energy restrictive assessment that I run my clients through for those who are interested in kind of seeing if this would be a good fit for their lifestyle and their goals. And it kind of runs you through, and then I talk with this questionnaire that you'd fill out with you, and we'd figure out the best plan for you. Okay, so if that's something you're interested in and this is intriguing to you and you want to learn more, if maybe you don't want to learn more but you want to get your nutrition on board with your goals, just maybe send me a DM or reach out to one of the coaches at SoCo, and we'll jump on a call. Okay, guys? And let me know if you guys like this video, and if there's anything else you guys want to learn. I'm definitely down for doing these weekly or as needed. So give me topics, I'll do the research, and I'll give you guys the downloads. Sound good? Cool, guys. Thanks again, and looking forward to hearing from you guys.